into the cash game. And at the same time, we figured, hey, if I'm going to set my, if I can set, I'm gonna start Twitch streaming. So this is a really good time for the two of us to stream together. My very first one is with Dennis, my buddy who helped me set up the Twitch stream and everything. But so what we're looking at right in front of me here is his database of hands. He sent me just 4,300, his most recent 4,300 hands. And you can see his profitabilities right there, big blinds, and I have all of his different stats along the way here. Great White just followed. Thanks, Great White. So we're going to go over his stats, and we're going to see if we can't find some leaks within his cash game right here. So Dennis, I haven't showed you this before, but this is my cash poker tracking sheet, and I have it saved with your name up top. What I did was I went through all of your stats right here, and I recorded all the stats onto this sheet so that we can look at it just really quickly. Okay. And I have a lot of little different notes and stuff for us to go over, to think about, to look for leaks in your game. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Cool. So when we, real quick, just go back to the stats. Let's see here, close that. So when we look at your stats and everything, they're all labeled here by position. I use the statistics tab with the position. I group it by position right here. And then so looking at all your stats, it's all laid out by position. When I look at this sheet, what I do is I have certain stats that I look for that really give me an indication of what kind of player you are, where your mistakes might be, and everything. So first off, your net currency one is $62 down. It's only 5 big blinds negative, but that probably has to do with the fact that you played a lot of 10 NL and 25 NL tables. So, but the big thing is that you're negative right now. Over 43 hands, it's not that bad. That's an easy thing that you can surmount, especially at 25 NL. You know, you win 2.5 buy-ins, you already break even.
Yeah, and I mean, my last session, I lost 3 buy-ins and like 3 flips.
And was that part of this 4.3K you sent me?
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, wow.
I believe it was, because it was all the hands that I could, I'm assuming it was all my current ones up to date.
Cool, yeah.
So my last session, I lost like 3 $25 buy-ins on flips.
Mm-hmm. So, gotcha. Good. So let's take a look at some of your stats right here. Oh yeah, so you were profitable up until just very recently. Mm-hmm. So if we look at your first stats, VPIP and PFR are 30-20. This tells me that you're a 30-20 player. What do you think? What do those stats say about you as a player if you saw that on one of your opponents at the table?
Well, I mean, it's I think that's a lag almost. I mean, we're getting to the top end of the range of the VPIP that you would want to see from a solid player. Sorry, I'm not trying to make myself sound good, but you know, that's still fairly tight. It's not too loose, but it's getting to the looser side of it. And same with the PFR, 20%. That's quite a wide opening range.
I gotcha. Yeah, to me, when I see stats like this, it does mean that you are a loose, aggressive player. You're not like dump status. You're not 45-30 kind of a player. But you're at 30-20, which means you are playing quite a lot of hands into the various positions. And then if we look at by position right here, you can see VPIP and PFR. The first thing that stood out to me is your early position VPIP. You play 20% of hands. Do you know what a 20% range looks like?
I do. That's too much. Looks like all Broadways and pairs and most. Well,
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is just a standard. I don't know what your 20% is. You might have a ton of ace suiteds and not as many suited gappers and stuff. You know, right. I don't know. This is just your standard 20% range right here. And at 20%, you have way too many hands to be opening in early position. Hands that you cannot stand any pressure against a 3-bet, right?
Right.
Yeah, so looking at this, in this 20% range, you have 270 combos. Let's try to remember that number, 270 here. If you face a 3-bet, for example, or even a call, a lot of the hands, a call by the MP cutoff or button when you're out of position. A lot of these hands that you're opening with, you don't want to see a flop with exactly, especially if you're going to be out of position in early position. So out of 270 hands, try to remember that number. What number do you not want to get 3-bet or even face a call by?
Out of 270?
Out of those 270, there's roughly...
that I don't want to get 3-bet by?
Yeah, don't want to get 3-bet, nor do you want to really even be called and go post-flop out of position with a lot of these hands. Some of these hands have potential, like Queen Jack suited, Jack 10 suited, right. Ace 10 suited, Ace 10 off. But you really don't want to see the flop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With hands outside of this range.
Oh, gotcha.
So
sorry.
roughly half the range out of 270 135 combos, 134 combos. You don't want anybody to call and play against you out of position, or even three bet you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're opening, half of the time, you don't even want to see the flop with half of those cards. So I really recommend trying to get closer to like a 15% range, even cut out some of those, maybe add in the 8-9 suited, and get rid of some of these offsuit hands in early position.
Yeah, I've been trying to play
like 15 or 14%.
I think too, this comes down to knowing and not doing what you know is the right thing to do. But I think that early position would be a lot tighter than we think we should, especially at the lower buy-ins. I don't think we need to balance as much as we think we do.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like people aren't watching.
You don't think we? You don't,
I don't think.
I'm sorry. You don't think we need to balance, as in put a lot more bluffs in your range? You need to stay in early position. You think that you should stay on the tighter range of things, on tighter side of things?
Yeah, because we're just not going to get in many good spots, right? We're going to be out of position for the whole hand usually, and I don't think. Like I know there's some good solid players at these levels at $25 NL, but I think there's a lot more people that just aren't paying attention at all to what you're doing.
I agree with you.
As far as your range, yeah.
Yep. So why is it that you're opening so much? Do you just see pretty cards and say, "Hey, I feel like opening this"? Or?
And again, like a lot of these hands range over a long period of time, and I think that's been part of it. Sometimes also, the sessions when you're card dead, and so you get queen jacks, queen king jack or something in first or second position. You think, I might as well play it this time. I haven't played any hands out of position so far. So you start mixing in, making excuses to play bad hands.
I understand that. Oh, we just is now following right now. Cool. So that's good. Thank you very much, Wee, for that following. Someone else just followed. I barely caught it out of the corner of my eye. I'm getting used to this whole Twitch thing and stuff. But thank you guys for following. So so you're right. So you said a lot of these hands were from a long time ago, before you've really started working on your game a whole lot. So a lot of this stuff is hands that, like playing. You played hands back in the day how you wouldn't play now.
Yeah, I mean, some of these hands are from before I met you, so from over a year ago, before we started working together and talking a lot. Gotcha. So some of this is before I had any kind of training or serious, coaching at all with Alex or anyone. So some of this is just, playing poker like it's 2009.
Yeah. What have you been playing in the meantime? You've been doing a lot of MTTs, right?
Majority, yeah. Like 99% of what I play is MTTs. So,
gotcha. And just recently, you decided to get back into the cash game and improve those skills.
Yeah, I think too many people have said for too long. Everybody says, "Oh, you can only play one or the other. You should just." But I think I've had a few professionals I spoke to say that's the biggest nonsense they've ever heard.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you're playing deep poker, you're playing deep poker, right? So if you're playing cash games, it shouldn't be much different than the early stages of a tournament, right?
Makes sense. Totally. So, I agree with you.
Yeah, I understand there are some differences, like where you're probably more likely to call a thin value bet in where you think you have a thin edge, say in a cash game, where you wouldn't in a tournament because your tournament life matters. But for the most part, it's very similar.
Totally. Good. We just asked a question. So what's going on? Is it a coaching session? It's not really a coaching session. It's more of a database. A database review is what I'm just typing in right here. Not so much a coaching session. We're just looking for your leaks and stuff. So so 20% is way too high. I want you to definitely tone that down across all the positions. And I'm sure you're doing that now, especially as you're playing more cash and everything. So just keep up with that streak,
Right.
Back in the day, I guess if a lot of these hands are a little bit older, your call pre-flop 2-bet was really high at 23%. And it was especially high. What's going on? It's especially high in the big blind. And it looked to me like you really could not fold that big blind.
Yeah, when you first pulled this up, I looked at that, and I know that should be my worst position, but that's a lot worse. Big blinds per 100, like 100 minus 132.
Yeah,
in tournament, I think
pretty bad.
I think
I was going to talk about that specifically later on, but yeah, that's a pretty ugly negative win rate in the big blind.
Yeah, and I know when I play tournaments, it's more like minus 40 or minus I'm very proud of my minus big blinds per 100 in the blinds in my tournament play. Mm-hmm. That's where I've really worked on my game.
Good. Okay.
But it looks
so
like
from this point forward in your cash games, you'd probably be better off taking a lot of those tournament blind things that you've learned and apply them to your cash game, right?
Right, and I think too that, like you said, this calling 2-bets. When I got first playing cash and when I've gotten back into it, I feel like there's more spots I can call than I should in tournaments. But again, I've found that that's costing me money, and you're showing me right now that yes, it definitely is.
Yeah, I got you. In tournaments, I mean, when there's antes kicking in and
Yeah.
somebody just does their standard min raise, it's only one big blind. It's really difficult to not call. But in cash games, when people are making 2.5 to 3 to 4 big blind open raises, it should be a lot easier to fold those big blinds.
Right.
Yep. Good, good. So that's in the big blind right there. Raised first in 31%. That just kind of goes along with PFR, just playing a lot of hands right now. These are some other stats that you know, attempt to steal, open and call, three bet. For everybody watching right now, this is the kind of sheet that I use with my students. We track their stats week over week to kind of see how things are progressing. On weeks where they have really ugly profitability numbers, we see what might have changed down in the stats, and that gives me an area or an idea of where I can dive into their play to find issues and everything. So I'll definitely be sending this to you, Dennis, and then from this point forward, you can keep track of all these stats on your own
Oh, cool.
and just see how they change and their ebbs and flows over time to help you spot the leaks and stuff.
Awesome.
Cool, cool. So your steal and then attempt to steal is 45%. So when the cut off the button, the small blind, you're stealing quite a bit, a good amount. That's not a bad thing or anything. But when it comes to steal and then folding the three bets, you obviously don't like to fold the three bets, right?
Yeah, and again, that's another one where I was making the wrong adjustment because in tournaments I fold to almost any three bet unless I've got a really valuable hand. But in the cash games, I tend to start calling a lot more with suited connectors, suited gappers, speculative hands. Because I assume that in the cash games, I find, or at least from what I was finding, was people's three bet ranges were a lot tighter than they are in tournaments. So my theory was
in cash games, they're tighter ranges.
Yeah, that's what I was finding, that they usually have it when they three bet at those stakes. So my theory was if they're three betting tight and I call wider when I do flop two pair or
you can get extra value out of their good hands.
And I don't remember if you remember the night that we were actually playing at the same table and I flatted a three bet from a guy in early position with 6-9 suited, and flopped 6-9 rag, and he had pocket aces, and we got it in, and the guy berated me at the table for.
Oh, good. Let him berate. You know,
yeah,
he got his full stack off.
But that was kind of because I was finding those hands either they hit and you stacked them, or you missed and you just got out of the way.
Yeah, I got you.
Again, it's probably not a long run good play. It's a fishy play.
Yeah, it's really I would agree with you there. It's not a good long run choice.
Yeah.
Just because you're calling and then folding too much on flops because you're calling with such a wide range.
Right.
It's just not worth it, even though you're playing in position. Unless you have a good reason to call that three bet, just don't do it. You're often folding, three betting with a good hand and good, playing that good position, or four betting to rebluff the guy or for value, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's say you attempted to steal right here. Or I'm just doing a little filter just to look a little bit more in detail at the times when you steal in and didn't fold.
Okay.
So attempted to steal pre-flop, but then also pre-flop, we want to look at pre-flop calls, and then you call the three bet. Let's just see what that profitability is.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a negative 666 big blinds per 100. So if we just look real quick by position, let's just look at the cards that you're calling with. 10-9 suited. This is the button, so you have ultimate position. 10-9 suited, ace queen, ace jack offsuit. That's an ugly one.
Yep.
6-5 suited, pocket fives. A lot of these hands, ace 4, 7-4 suited. And I know you're not going to be doing this anymore, but when you were calling with hands like this, you were basically, my guess is you were oftentimes just hoping to hit super strong. You possibly weren't taking a look at their post-flop stats to see if they had post-flop weaknesses. Is that right?
Yeah. It was more just playing to see if you hit a big flop.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so you can see how, this is a pretty, where did that one hand go you were talking about? I wonder if it's in here. You won $9. I don't see it here.
I don't see it.
It might not have made it through. It might not have even been a steal. It might have been something from the MP where you opened and then got three bet and called with that 6-9 suited you were talking about. But anyway, yeah, so this is really ugly. You definitely want to be a little bit more selective. When you're stealing, with a hand like 8-6 suited in the small blind, right? Or 10-7 suited or 9-6. Ultimately, your goal is just to get the guy to fold and to take his blinds, right?
Right.
So when he comes over the top and three bets, that's often a perfect time just to fold, give up your three big blinds. You were attempting to steal. You wanted to just take his blinds. It didn't work, and that's the time to ditch the hand, especially at these super low, micro stakes like this, because a lot of times, like you said, those three betters are doing so for value.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect sense.
So that's looking at those hands. So that's definitely something you want to work on. Let's make a note of that here. And I know you already know this, but
Yep. No, this is good. I think I don't think enough people do this kind of thing with a friend too, where you have somebody do your database review.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll see things more honestly and clearly than I'll see them.
Gotcha.
And you're looking for different things than I'm looking for, etc.
Mm-hmm. Totally, I agree with you there. Fold to three bets. So your fold to steal is very low too, and this is pretty indicative of
the big blind.
You don't like to fold right here. You could see the negative BBs or negative over 100 and over 50 here. And I'm sure you know this, but just for the listeners, can you explain why a win rate of worse than negative 100 big blinds is terrible in the big blind? What does that mean?
That means that I'm losing more than if I didn't sit at the table and they just folded my big blind 100 times.
Exactly. Yes, you're losing more than if you just folded every big blind. Same thing here. If you folded every small blind, it would be negative 50 big blinds per 100, right?
Yeah.
And then so you're actually losing even more than that. So you would have been better off sitting out every big blind and just posting it for free.
Well, like you're saying,
without even seeing your hand.
It's what's that? The actual that's chips one. Sorry, not dollars. I was gonna say if we saw the dollar.
What?
Is that? Oh, that's the dollar. Is that dollars lost?
Yeah, this is in your currency.
Okay, so right
My
there, you look
one.
at that. So I lost $34 more than if I sat at the table, and does that say minus? Oh, that's the dollar sign, $56. So
yes, this is negative 56 down here.
And and that's my minus $60 overall, $61. So $40 of it came from playing the blinds of the negatives. Totally. So I'd be minus $20 overall if I hadn't played out of the blinds at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me see here. Okay. I'm sorry, Dennis, real quick. Al said something in the chat. When you go to full screen, the chat where I am typing is not on screen. So in your OBS, you want to set that up so it shows for your viewers asking questions.
Yeah. Do you know how I was showing you mine has the chat box on mine? Like in my screen?
So you're right. So I have the full screen taken up with what I'm sharing with you. What I should do is put the chat to the right-hand side. Is that what Al's saying?
No, he's saying you should have it in your stream. So remember I was saying I didn't find a lot of value in it, but now I see Al's got a good point there. Is that if you have that chat box in the stream, then if he watches you on his full screen, he'll still see the chat box.
Oh, totally. That makes total sense. Okay, thank you very much, Al. I'll do that for next time. I'll set up the chat box within the screen. I need to figure out how to do that, but yes.
Yeah, I can show you. I just didn't want to take up more of your screen because you were using it for. But I had never really seen a good reason for it, and Al just showed us. Thanks, Al.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Good thing I kept mine.
Cool. Yep. All right. So let's see here. Sweet. Let's see. Oh, let's continue here. Okay, so your fold to steal is very low. That's one reason why your big blind win rates are so ugly. So yes. You want to definitely fold a little bit more, be more selective, especially because when you defend your blinds, you are choosing to play this hand against this opponent out of position right now, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you want to be more selective right there. Get that fold to steal up and just fold more often and play better hands.
I think part of that is again, maybe, so there are more changes from tournament to cash than I'm thinking, and I'm noticing them as soon as you're showing these stats. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when I'm playing in the big blind in a tournament, if somebody min raises me, I'm going to have to find an awful good reason to fold.
Yes.
If somebody 2.25 or 2.5x raises me, I still have to find a good reason to fold. Mm-hmm. If they 3x me, I'm throwing away all kinds. But now all of a sudden when I'm playing the cash game, people typically raise 3x, but I'm still calling them all.
Yes.
So that's probably where that's coming from. I'm calling the bigger bets. Yeah.
That's a big part of it. So I don't know where your C-bet game is now, but if you take a look, you C-bet the flop with over these 4,300 hands. You're C-betting 83%, and it drops to 49%. And that tells me you're a totally turn honest player right there.
Yeah.
And I, against you, I'm calling every single flop to take it away on the turn or the river, depending on if I'm in position or out of position. You know?
Yeah, and I've definitely been working on that. I'm
Good.
actually my C bet on the flop is coming down,
Hmm.
and my turn C bet is going up. Like I think they're getting to a point where they're going to be almost close together,
Sweet.
which I
Sweet.
think would be ideal.
Yeah, that's something I mentioned down here. Was it C bet the flop a little less, double barrel bluff sometimes, especially in position, and when that turn doesn't help your opponent.
Right.
Yeah, so increase that turn C bet. Where are we at here? Da, da, da. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's filter through some hands real quick. We can look at your C bet on the flop and checked turn. We'll also look at your double barrels and we'll look at your triple barrels. We're going to see some interesting stuff right here. So if we go to filters, on the flop, you made a flop bet, a C bet, but then your turn honest. So on the turn, you decided to check the turn. So we can see in this filter flop C bet, check the turn, apply it. Bam, negative 567 big blinds per 100.
Wow.
So what this means is that it could mean a couple of things. Your C bet on the flop and checking the turn, showing weakness and allowing opponents to blow you off of your hands somewhere from the turn or river. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It also means that when it could also mean that when you C bet the flop and check the turn, that you just have a weak hand. And even if you go to showdown, somebody beats you with second pair or third pair or something along those lines, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So this is just indicative of your weakness and showing weakness and allowing opponents to take advantage of it when you bet the flop and check the turn.
Cool.
Let's take a look on the other hand. You bet the flop, but let's say you double barrel. The turn bet, you throw out that C bet again. So we can see C bet the flop, C bet the turn, save and apply filters. Bam! Look at that win rate, 423 big blinds per 100. You're up 36 bucks in this instance. You've only lost out of the blinds. Every other position, you're a winner. Now, this tells me a few things. When you are double barreling, you definitely like your hand. Either that, or you're picking really good spots to double barrel, against the right opponents.
Yep.
And it also tells me that you're probably using your position very well, and you're pushing people off of hands because you've got that position. So I want you definitely to take a lesson from this that when you're double barreling, you are you're keeping that initiative. You're putting pressure on through multiple streets, forcing your opponents off of those hands. And oftentimes they're probably calling because they don't believe you. And then you're just getting that extra value when you double barrel. So try to double barrel more just to rep that strength because you're possibly getting a lot of opponents to fold to your double barrels.
Yeah, and that's something I really noticed when I went to Montreal and played that World Poker Tour event.
Mm-hmm.
And spent that week with Alex and watching. Now, I think I told you or you knew, like we ended up at the same table.
Yeah.
So we played at the same table for 8 hours and watching a professional poker player that his game because he's your coach, so you kind of see all the things that it's like, okay, let's see him put all this stuff into practice that he taught me, right? And watching him double and triple barrel and watching why and watching him calling down certain hands, it really made me realize, and just watching everybody in general play. Remember when Harrington on Hold'em came out and all of a sudden everybody started C-betting, and if you C-bet, you just won that poker. You
Yes,
can C-bet
back
every time.
in the day.
Right. Well, I said I feel now that the equivalent of the C-bet when Harrington explained it is now the triple barrel. Because if you, especially when you're out of position, if you C-bet and you get a call and you check the turn, 9 times out of 10, a strong player will bet big and you fold. Because you've shown you don't want any part of the hand. And if you double barrel and you get called and you don't fire the river, they just fire the river and take the pot from you. So it's almost like if you're going to C-bet, you should be figuring out when you C-bet, am I ready to triple barrel this pot?
Yeah, I like that thinking.
Yeah, so that's my saying. I've been telling people, the triple barrel is the new C-bet.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
40 is the new 60, or 60 is the new 40, all that kind of stuff. Things change over time, Awesome, you're right about that. I agree. Sometimes you just got to have balls of steel to do those double or triple barrel bluffs, though.
Yeah, Al just posted too. Note his double barrel percentage goes up if he eliminates opponent's pre-flop raise, then C-bets thin field to heads up. The double barrel, regardless of cards, usually a winner. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too, right? If you have the balls to double barrel and triple barrel, you're going to win a lot. a lot more hands than you deserve. You're gonna win more than your fair share. You're gonna also look stupid sometimes when you triple barrel and have to turn over a bluff, but that's just gonna get you more value when you do triple barrel a value hand and somebody calls you down.
Yes. Right about that. Al's got a good point there for sure. Cool. So, I'm sorry, my son just interrupted me asking if he could eat a donut. So let's see here. Oh, thank you very much. You're going to see him on the screen. He comes up and hands the donut to me. Thank you, Damon. Get out of here, please. I'm in the middle of the screen. Damon, please go. Thank you, Damon.
It's funny. I still haven't seen your screen come up. Everybody else sees you, but I don't. That's weird. But
yeah, I don't know.
It's fine.
They're sharing to everyone else, so that's good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lotion Sample says, with the triple barrel, do you think the next evolution will be more hero calls? I would say so, probably. Although that's really scary too. Pulling off a triple barrel is tough, but then hero calling 3 barrels is really darn tough too.
I think hero calling is always going to be a fish play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say I'm a pro or anything, but you see, you guys make a hero call. Those are hero calls. That it's. There's a right and a wrong call. It's you're gonna have to have a calling range and be able to calculate when it's a proper call to make. Like again, there's time, but you have to be able to be hand reading and everything. It can't be just start calling down every time.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think hero calls. I think hero calls are already a thing. You know, because guys that make hero calls, they make 25 calls and 3 of them are a great call, right? And then, oh look, I can't believe he made that sick call. Well, he made 23 horrible ones to get to that one.
Exactly. So. Yep. So real quick, so talking about triple barrels right here, 423 big blinds per 100. When you do double barrel, and Al is right, you're probably pushing people off on the flop, and then go only heads up with your turn action. Well, let's just take a look real quick at what's going on when you triple barrel. 24 hands with $30 profit, 794. So it's pretty obvious that when you're triple barreling, hey, here's a hand where you lost a good amount, which is second pair. Nice. Most of the time when you're triple barreling, you have probably a pretty darn good hand. Final hand, 3 of a kind queens. Let's take a look here. 1 pair aces. Yeah, but you're triple barreling and probably doing it at some good opportune times right here. Let's see this hand real quick. 30 cents, King Jack suited. I'm good with that. Get a caller. 2 call. Oh, you're out of position. Okay. Overcards, flush draw, backdoor straight. Bet and get a caller. Okay, just 1 guy. You hit your pair, so of course you picked up some equity on that turn. You're going to barrel again. 97 cents, slightly under half pot. What does that mean to you? Does that bet sizing mean that you're weak in your eyes?
Yeah, it should be a bigger bet.
Yeah.
Typically, I try to, and again, it's not an automatic, but I try, and I think I've told you this in the past. If you're playing out of position, I tend to bet 2/3 pot instead of half pot.
Yep.
To try,
I agree with you there.
Try and get them
those bigger bets. So what I've always felt, not always, I've recently felt this. It seems like half pot bets are just not believed nearly as much as you want them to be.
Right.
So I'm often, against my opponents, when they're betting half pot, I'm often calling 1 or 2 streets at least because I just put them on a weak hand, whatever it might be at the time, depending on the board and their range and everything. And so I've upped all of my bets. I normally don't make half pot bets either for value or for a bluff. I just go 2/3 pot with just about everything nowadays.
Right.
Post flop, yeah. And then you get a caller, and then you completely whiff. But as we know, we filtered for triple barrels. So let's see what happens on the triple barrel.
And I mean,
he just folded right there.
And I still have top pair, and he could have missed some draws, right?
Yep, he had a flush draw himself.
Yeah.
Maybe like a naked queen too for a gutter or something like that.
But if he's got a 10, he's probably going to call that down. If he's called the turn, he's probably still going to call down.
Yeah, I think with this bet you were getting value from quite a few hands that could call the flop and turn, just unbelievingly calling you in position.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see how your triple barrels are good, and you're probably using pretty good rationale when you're triple barreling and double barreling. It's just those see bet the flop in and check the turn. That's where you got to watch out and do that a little bit less often. Let's see here. Turn honesty means you feel confident when you see bet the turn, so you bomb almost every river, which is pretty good. And also, like you had said, that triple barrel is the new C bet, so a lot of opponents see that as just a scary bet, so they fold to the triple barrel. So you're doing good there.
Yeah, and for the people that are tournament players, like that's what I've been seeing, and from a lot of smart tournament MTT pros and players that I talk to and have watched in the last couple months,
Mhm.
their triple barrel is like, they bet the half pot or 2/3 on the flop, they bet 3/4 pot on the turn, and then when the river comes, even if it's a bluff, they're putting it all in,
Yeah.
and everybody folds. Nobody wants to
Mhm.
call off on the triple barrel, right? Like it just seems to be the big play, the big advantage they have right now.
Yeah. It absolutely is.
So
Nobody
maybe that
wants to
goes
look
back to
like a
what
dummy.
that might go back to what Nick was saying about is the hero call the new going to be the new thing. Maybe he's right when he says that. If that's what he means, that you're going to have to start calling down triple barrels when for value when you know you've got a hand. But I think that still comes down to figuring out your hand reading skills to know what they could be, what kind of hands what their range is going to be on that river.
Yeah. Definitely. And you're right about that. It comes down to hand reading skills and practicing that daily in your study sessions.
Yeah.
So let's see right here. Fold a flop, turn, river, c-bet. Okay. So 49%, you fold a flop, c-bet. It's only 49%. That just tells me you don't like to fold the flop, and you probably view your opponents like yourself, super bluffy on the flop. Is that how you see your opponents?
Yeah, and it seemed like my frequencies were so far off. Like I was way too fit or fold in the past, so I could be overcompensating that I'm calling too
Gotcha.
much now.
We should do something like this, in a month from now after you put in a few more hands to see how things might have changed.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Yeah, because you have the numbers, you can see what they've done. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Fold to river bet. Now, this was kind of a big jump. You went from folding on the flop. Now, this is just versus a standard like ant me bet, whether it's a c bet, a check raise, whatever kind of bet. You fold on the flop 55, 66% on the turn, and then 71% on the river. And that tells me that you just fold to a lot of river bets in general, not necessarily triple barrels, just river bets. But at this folding percentage, bluffing any two cards is kind of profitable if you, Dennis, if you show no aggression before now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, so if the pot is a dollar, they bet a dollar. It only has to work 50%, but on average now, over these 4,300 hands, you're folding 71%. So if you check the flop or check the turn, a player who notices this should bomb every single river against you.
Right.
And they're just printing money. So watch out for that when when you show some weakness on the flop or the turn. Make sure before you just fold that river, make sure you kind of put the opponent on the hand and figure out, hey, what could he be betting here? Do I have anything worth calling? Is it possible that I can bluff catch him or even beat him if he's betting third or fourth pair, that kind of thing.
Cool.
So something to be aware of. So if we go to your win rates right now, okay, we already talked about them a little bit. On the button, you're negative 8, but it's not that bad, but it could be the reason why you're negative on the button. It could be because you have just a few really unlucky, really big hands. I don't think this is a big issue. I think, like we already discussed, this is the big issue right here. Your big blind and small blind win rates.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a surprise. And I think anybody that does their database is going to find that, right?
Yep, just about everybody. I would agree with you there.
Oh, I just tried to because I was just trying to put my link on your. I was putting your link on my stream while we're going here. I just tried to put yours, but it won't let me. I just attempted, so.
Gotcha. Okay. No worries.
Yeah.
So now positional play. This is something I wanted to look at with you instead of putting the numbers down here. This is something that I've been really focused on trying to play in position more, right?
Yeah.
Because we all know that in position just means that you're more likely to win the pot by either getting extra value because your opponent is out of position, just calling down, not believing you, thinking you're bluffing in position, or that you can put the pressure on the opponents and get them to fold because they're out of position. So that's why I'm personally trying to play in position a whole lot more. So when I look at either my students or my own database, I always do this right here. I filter for on the flop. Hand details, player position. On the flop, we're in position first. Now this, of course, is going to show us every flop that we saw in position.
Okay.
Out of 4,300 hands, you saw the flop 346 hands with a positive win rate of 50 big blinds per 100, which that in itself is pretty darn good. It means that, okay, so you lost money, but your win rate is positive. How does that happen? The reason why that happens is because you have some 10 NL hands, like you can see right down here, 10 NL with 25 NL.
Yeah.
You have the different the different stakes mixed up like that.
Right.
When that happens, this means that you're winning a lot at 10 NL, but you're losing at 25 NL.
Interesting. I would never have figured that out.
Yeah, so that's what that is. Your
And
dollar losses outweigh your dollar wins in 10 NL.
And
So
those are
that's what
flops
that is.
in
So,
position?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, these are seeing flops in position, 346. And it was 346. Your win rate was 50 big blinds per 100. Now, get ready, Dennis, for a 93 big blind swing. Wait, no, was it 93? 100? No, I think it was like 143 big blind swing. Let's take a look here. So more filters, hand details, player position, on the flop, out of position. So when we see how many hands you saw the flop out of position, 493 hands at a negative 93 big blinds per 100.
See, I picked
and
the right.
$52.
I picked the right screen name for my poker name.
Yeah, Pro Fish Poker.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So 493, negative 93. So 493 hands out of position, negative 93 big blinds per 100 right here. Now that's, what is it, 143 big blind swing.
Nice.
You're seeing the flop in position 346. Let me whip out the calc. 346 was 493. That's 839 hands total. So you're seeing the flop only 41% of the time. You're seeing the flop in position 41% of the time. Out of position, you're seeing it 59% of the time, which my goal is just to see the flop in position over 50% of the time right now.
Okay.
A lot of my numbers were like I was often at 45, 55, but since I've been trying to work on it myself, I'm seeing the flop a lot more in position. And some of the ways that you can do that, actually, do you have any ideas on how you can possibly see the flop more in position?
Well, first of all, if you're talking about the ratio, I can stop opening as much in middle and early position. Tighten my range up. Just want to say thanks, Trent. I see Trent's finally following me now.
Oh, it's very nice of you, Trent. And then Tommy Flynn just followed me as well. Sweet.
Sorry, what was I saying? Okay, so yeah, so opening obviously.
So you said open less in
yeah,
the EP and MP.
because I was opening too many hands as we saw in early position as it was. Opening more hands, I guess, in late position and calling less out of the big blind and small blind.
That's exactly right. Yep. And then, you could also kind of pad that number by calling a little bit more in the button just to see flops in position. But your goal isn't just to see flops in position. You want to see flops in position against the right opponents with a good to decent hand or a good chance to take it away post-flop, against somebody who has post-flop weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you're right about that. So what I want you to do, this is something that I've been using for myself. Use a tick sheet for in position and out of position on the flop. So as you go, I don't know how to explain it. You know how, maybe I can, how to go right here. 1 second. Let me see more. Was it absent? Aha. So this is a tick sheet. You've seen stuff like this, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So this is what you're going to do. On a piece of paper in front of you, as you play your sessions, every time you see a flop in position, make a tick. Out of position, make a tick. At the end of the night, just count them up. And then you just by doing this, you're just making yourself a little bit more aware of how often you're seeing the flop in position and out of position. And just by being more aware, you're going to be thinking to yourself more, geez, do I want to make another tick mark out of position when I know I often lose when I see the flop out of position?
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Yeah. So do that. That's a little tick sheet. This won't save on here. This is something I can do on the screen. But yeah, let's see.
Yeah, you could probably use that for a lot of different things, eh?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, you can. You can use it. Another thing that I do. Let's see here. Instead of in position and out of position, I'll often do this for bluff and then value. So when I'm raising or betting for bluff or value, I'll make a tick beneath it just to force myself to think about, am I bluffing here or am I value betting here? Why am I 3-betting? Am I bluff 3-betting or value 3-betting, or am I 3-betting just to 3-bet?
Right.
By keeping track of this, it just gets your mind focused on it.
Cool.
Yep. So now, how do I get rid of this stuff? Yeah, this is a feature in the Zoom
Oh, cool.
software
Nice.
that I can use like that. So okay, got rid of that there. Yeah, so that's what I mean by a tick sheet. So for everyone else watching right now, if you want to just keep your mind focused on anything, you can make a tick sheet for it and just take a note as you as you play your sessions. Dusty Devil just followed. Thank you very much, Dusty. I appreciate it. My brother's name is Dusty, actually. I doubt that's my brother though. That would be funny. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's a really important thing. Just looking at that positional play and just being more focused on it will get you to play better, or to play more hands in position, I should say.
Cool.
Yep. So be careful of through. Okay, one other thing that I wanted to look at was, let's see here. If we go to more filters, flop, flop calls, call to bet. Whoops, dang it. On the turn, sorry, turn calls. What I want to do is take a look at the times when you're just playing passively and calling on the flop and the turn. We saw what your double barrel percentage was, or not percentage, your win rate was earlier, right? It wasn't like 500 or 400 and something big blinds per 100?
For which, sorry?
When you double barrel, when you bet the flop and the turn, your win rate was roughly 400 something, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at it when you're not being aggressive, when you're just being a passive guy, just calling on the flop and the turn. Whoops. Let's take a look here. Okay, so this is really telling right now. When you're betting, you're making money on the flop and the turn. When you're just calling, for whatever reason you're calling, maybe you have a draw, maybe you have a weak top pair like this 10-9 hand, kind of, or on the flop at least. You're losing money. You're losing negative 1,100 big blinds per 100. That's basically like 10 big blinds per hand that you're losing.
But that's
so you lost 280 big blinds here on average.
But that's only a 28 hand sample?
Yeah, just 28 hands that you did this with.
Okay.
But it's just telling that. Let's take a look. So
I know it's still bad, but I just see like that 10-9 hand looks like a $20 pot.
Yeah, exactly. And we can take a look at this in a second. You had 28 hands. Let's just count how many hands were winning hands and losing hands.
Okay.
You won 3 hands here. You won a 4th. You won a 5th. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 hands. So when you're calling, you lost 17 out of 28, which was more than half of the time. So what I want you to take away from this is when you're being passive, all right, so when you're playing passively on the flop and the turn, you're often losing those hands. And it's because you're either calling with draws and you whiff, or you're just calling with second pair and you lose to top pair on the river, kind of a thing. Or you're giving up on the river because you're just folding into those triple barrels quite often. So it's definitely something you want to be aware of. Playing passively is, in general, just a losing play. As we all know, those are the guys that we want to take money from, right? Those are the fish at the tables. Those passive calling stations. Those are the ones that we just want to bet into. They keep calling us, just giving us their value. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, so it's something you want to take a look at. Let's take a look when you're calling in position, like we saw that first 10-9. Let's look at this hand here. This is the big losing hand, $28. So let's see what happens. You decide to open. Great. Lovely. Can't fault you for that. I would always open 10-9 suited on the button. But then now you face the 3-bet. So this guy right now, you only have 48 hands. Can you see this on the screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, so you only have 48 hands against the guy. He is a 19-13, which is a tight, aggressive player. He folds the steals 100% of the time, so it's only 1 out of 1. But it's possible that he really chooses his hands wisely out of the blinds. We don't know yet exactly, but possibly. 3-bets at 0% out of 18 instances. He hasn't 3-bet once out of 18 instances. And then now he decides to 3-bet you, right?
Yeah.
So
So
that
again,
just screams danger to me.
Well,
How
again,
do you feel? How
again,
do you feel now, knowing what you know about your poker and how it's changed and everything over the past few months and stuff? Would you still make this call?
well, it's no, and I mean typically in a tournament scenario, I would never make this call.
Hmm.
But for like again, because I was thinking, well, it's a cash game, I should see more flops, right? Was what I was when I was making a lot of these plays.
Yeah.
Which I'm seeing the error. If I was going to make a play here, I should be four betting or folding, basically. I guess also I would have been because I'm on the button. That would be the excuse I would have had while I'm in position.
Uh huh.
But
Yep,
yeah,
I completely agree. I understand that. I'm down with the fold or the four bet option. I would four bet here because it's a total bluff. I would fold if I expect the guy to be three bet bluffing a lot.
Right.
Like if it was this hash browns guy with a three bet at 13%,
right. Yep.
he would be the one that I would like to four bet rebluff. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's see what happens. Okay, we flop top pair, weak kicker, not a great hand. Backdoor straight draw, no flush draw. He bets 350. Now that's roughly, what is that, roughly three-quarter pot, give or take or so? That's a pretty darn strong bet against a guy who only c-bets 50% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that?
Well, again, when it's a three bet pot, I find, especially in the lower limits, that the typical play when somebody three bets is they c bet 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So I can say his range is strong here, but he's also got a lot of ace king, ace queen, overcards, maybe even pocket nines, pocket sevens. So there are hands that I'm ahead of here.
Yeah, absolutely there are. Yeah. If
That-
this guy does decide to do a double barrel, what kind of? I'm sorry. Let's say you don't hit. Let's say you don't hit two pair or trips on the turn, or even picked up equity with a straight draw, or anything like a jack, no queen, no nine, no 10, no seven, no six even. What are you going to do versus a double barrel?
I'm most likely folding at that point.
Most likely going to fold.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem
Could be
is I
good.
hit my two pair.
Yeah, you can see on the screen right there to the side that you do hit your two pair. So first off, I'm not a fan of calling that pre-flop. I'm just going to give up against a tight aggressive player three betting me for the first time out of 18 hands in the blinds. I'm just not going to see that right there. I have to hit the flop. I'm sorry. I have to hit the flop pretty strong to have any confidence in my hand at all. You know.
Yep.
And I don't know enough about his post flop game to know that he has out of position weaknesses just yet. So that's that. And then right here, I would fold again. It's a three-quarter pot bet out of position. He's a tight aggressive player. Oftentimes, tags don't want to commit too much to the pot. I know what you're saying. It's a C bet. He could be a one-and-done player, firing the one bet, hoping you'll fold. But right here, it's just such a strong bet at three-quarter pot. I'm often folding.
Right.
Yeah. And then you call, and then you hit what looks like a really good card to you. He shoves. And then, of course, you call. You got that two pair. You've got his aces, his kings, his queens beat. You have his flush draws and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that
even
shove. My thing is that shove to me does not look like somebody that wants me to call.
My gosh, yeah, an overshove.
Yeah, like to me, if he's got the straight or a set or maybe a set, but it just seems like you would want to suck value out of me. Where this seems like he's got his ace king or his overpair, and he's trying to end me from catching something here.
Yep, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So I'm down with the flop with the turn call right here. I just don't like the flop and the turn play. I'm sorry. I don't like the pre-flop and the flop play with the turn call. I totally agree with you. That shove, like, yeah, if I were him going for value with a set or even an overpair of kings or something or aces, well, aces and kings, depending on what he thinks about you, that nine can be a scary board and add to some of your draws, you know, if you had some kind of a weird jack or a queen in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't look
he
like
could be doing that with an overpair. But even if it is an overpair, great. You have two pair, you got to beat, you know?
Yep.
Good. So I'm down with the call right here as played through the turn. And then the queen of spades comes. You obviously lose because we're talking about this hand. Let's see. He had the ace king. You put him on the right hand from the beginning. Good job.
Yeah.
He just got lucky and sucked out right there.
Yep.
He did have a ton of outs. He didn't have any straight outs. He had a
flush.
Actually, he didn't even have two pair outs. You know, he basically just had those nine spades on you right there. So he got lucky in this instance. Yeah. So I agree with that turn call. I'm just not a big fan of the pre-flop and the flop. Let's take a look at another hand where you lost a pretty decent amount. Ooh, 9-8 right here. See what happens. Okay. So how do you feel about this overcall?
Well, again, this seems to me where I hear everybody. I tend to stay away from calling pre-flop in tournament play. I'm usually three betting or folding most of the time when I'm opening. There's a lot
Mhm.
not, and the only time when I'm calling is when it's a situation similar to this,
Mhm.
where I think we're getting. If you take my bet back there before I called,
Yeah.
so we're getting 3.5 to 1.
22% equity is all you need, and 8-9 is often pretty easy to play post flop.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
Your decisions are kind of cut and dry with 8-9.
I've got great position here against all these guys that have raised, right? So if I hit a big hand, like I'm going to get paid. And if I, like you just said, either it's a fit or fold type hand, and it
Yep.
plays really good multi-way, right?
Yeah, totally, totally. I'm down with this call. You could four bet. I'm not four bet. Three bet as just a straight bluff to try to try to win with it.
Yeah.
3, 6, 9. A little over 10 big blinds. You could have done that.
I just hate to get blown off the hand with a four bet, though.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that's the best
Yeah,
play, a three
yeah.
bet. I prefer a call over a three bet. I do not like a fold here. I definitely want
Yeah.
you to see this flop with the 8-9 suited.
Cool.
So I'm good with that call. And then oh wow, how crazy! Both the blinds folded
Yeah.
for just. I mean, oh man, what was his? What did he need there? He only needed 13% equity. That's hot. Hot and cold equity.
Yeah.
So he could have had like a deuce nine off suit and folding. But anything playable, I would be calling right there with so much money. Even though you're going to be out of position, I'm just often calling to try to hit something. If I have some kind of decent suited connector or gapper or every pocket pair, I'm set mine right here.
Yep.
Yep. Just surprised by that fold. But he is a 16-11. He's a nifty player. So I guess it makes sense. So flop comes down, backdoor flush draw, open ender to the low end, but it's still an open ender. Let's see what you do. 2-12. So the initial opener comes in. He's a 48-7. He's a really passive player. What do you make of that bet?
Well, again, he's a 48-7, so he's raising fairly tight. But again, it's a 27 hand, so it's hard to put this guy in a lot. But it's again one of these spots where even if he's ahead of me, he's not that far ahead of me. He's most likely got a pair,
Gotcha.
or he could still be an overcard guy trying to take it. But he's still got a range that if I catch a seven or a queen, I'm stacking him potentially,
Totally.
or a diamond if I
Yeah.
pick up a diamond. Like there's a lot of cards that help me on the turn. Any queen, any seven, any diamond.
Yep. I agree with you there. And I'm definitely not folding. Depending on what these two guys do, I haven't seen this hand yet, but I'm definitely not folding to that bet. You have positioned great hand, just like you would just say.
And even
you can stack him.
Yeah.
Not stack him. I guess he has more chips, but you can double all.
No, yeah.
Yep. So let's see. Okay, they fold, so I'm down with a call. I'm also down. I'm not really down with a raise right here because he does have such a tight image when it comes to raising. He's not betting with nothing right here. Possibly ace, king, ace, queen, but other than that, he's probably calling with anything else that he's betting here, or even coming over the top with a three bet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those things, like you said, the plays would be call, then raise, then fold. Like, I don't think there's any reason to get out of this pot.
Absolutely. I'm not leading at this point. Oh, picking up some equity right there, 361. So the first bet was roughly 2/3 pot. Second bet was less than half pot.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
I think I should raise here, looking at this.
Yep. I definitely like the raise. He's just showing weakness. Oftentimes with players, when they're bet sizing as a percentage of the pot, when it changes, that's pretty indicative of the strength of their hand.
Yeah.
It could be that he's going for value, but probably not. I'm thinking he has a weak hand, maybe even some kind of a weak mid pair or something.
Yeah, I think
possibly just two overcards that he wanted throughout the c-bet, and he's scared that you decided to call, so he wants to do the double barrel, but cheaply.
Yeah, I think at best he's got a jack here. Because if he's got queens, kings, or aces, he's not going to shy away. People love those hands.
Yep, 100%. I would agree with you. He would keep up that same 2/3 pot bet on the turn, I think, with those hands.
Yeah.
And then you just call. Okay, so you called with some good equity. You didn't want to blow him off the pot, which you possibly could have by a shove right here. Get him to fold most of his hands other than overcards.
Looking at it right now, I don't mind a shove here. I
Yeah,
don't
I don't mind
think
a shove at all.
I don't think it calls that.
Using that equity, you have so many outs. You have 9 plus another 6, 15 outs total
Yeah.
to hit a super strong hands. It's going to stack the guy.
And it might just take the pot down now too, which isn't a bad thing. Right?
Yeah, that's not a bad thing either. It's a good sized pot at a
With a bluff.
25 here. Well, so you hit your diamond.
Yeah.
It filled your straight, but it made your flush, which is even a little bit better.
Problem is,
Now-
I can't get away. I don't think I can get away from this and all of a sudden put him on the flush. Maybe I can. I don't know, but that's the hand I tried to hit, and I hit it. I'm assuming he's obviously hit a bigger flush than me here if I'm losing the pot, right? Or do I fold here? It's $20. Oh no, because I lost $20.
So going along with what you're saying, I agree that you can only fold if you put him on the like he had ace king or ace queen of diamonds, or even ace jack of diamonds. I guess had a pair and then decided to double barrel.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few better diamonds than you have in this instance. But I think I wouldn't shove if I were you right here because you're not getting worse hands to call. Because he opened pre-flop. He's a really passive player. He's not opening with a worse flush than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I doubt he's calling with like just a random weak jack in this instance if you do decide to shove. I'm down with a call right here because he does have a ton of aces, kings, queens, even ace jack that isn't a diamond, as well as even a set of jacks and a set of tens that he triple barreled on, that he thinks he's getting value from you and he doubts you hit a runner flush on.
Right.
So I'm calling in this instance as well, just like you said. Oh, but you decide to shove.
Yeah.
Let's see what he does.
He's obviously got the big
or
king
what he
jack.
has.
Yeah. So
the king jack.
So I don't think I wasn't getting rid of, like all those times we talked about raising. I was destined to lose that one. He wasn't folding.
No. Yeah, you weren't going to get him to fold no matter what.
Yeah.
It just ended up being a really bad turn and river card for you. I'm down with your play on every street except for that river. I think you could have saved yourself $5 by just making the call.
Yeah, it's too bad the 7 didn't come green.
Yeah, exactly, huh? Exactly. Then he would have checked. You could have done some kind of like roughly $7 value bet, and he probably would have paid you off.
Yeah.
With that hand right there. Sweet. So that's another filter. I know you use Hold'em Manager 2 currently, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been using. Yeah.
Okay, and I imagine you can run filters through Hold'em Manager just like you can in Poker Track 4.
Yeah.
So a lot of these filters that we ran today, I want you definitely to keep running them. Look at the hands. Look at why you're losing with a lot of these hands and a lot of these situations, and see if you can't if you can't improve those win rates, especially out of the blinds, and then your out of position play as well. You want to, without a doubt, improve that too.
Right.
Cool deal. Well, it's 5 o'clock. It's time for me to go join my kids for some dinner and stuff. Do you have any questions, Dennis?
Yeah. Are you going to put the link to your webinar in your? You should put that in there right now for everybody watching. Your How to Study Poker
Good
webinar.
question. Yes. So everybody, I have a webinar coming up pretty soon. It's called How to Study Poker on March 25th. And the link for the webinar is...
Do you have it handy? I have it if you don't.
No, I got it. I'm typing it in. smartpokerstudy.com
I'm just putting it in there.
/study poker webinar. Yep, so that's it right there. In that webinar, I'll be showing you how to do, a lot of different study techniques that I use when it comes to hand history reviews. Using tricks like that tick sheet that I talked about. That's like an in-session study technique that I really like. So we'll be talking about that kind of stuff in an hour and a half webinar. So please join us for that, March 25th. March 25th at 10 a.m. PST. Alrighty. Anything else, Dennis?
I don't think so. I think we got it all covered then.
Okay.
Do you still?
Actually, yeah. Just real quick, Dennis is actually doing a little segment during that webinar where he's going to talk to us and teach us how to use CREV, which is Card Runners EV, and it's something that I've spent hardly any time on, but Dennis uses it. I don't know, what do you use it 3-4 times a week? Or daily?
I use it quite a bit, and I actually have 2 poker pals that we spend about 3 or 4 hours once a week.
Awesome.
Working on it together, training, like really deep diving into some of these calculations. So that's with with Carlos
Good.
Welch
And then what were you going over? Some post-flop equity situations, right? Or situation, I guess I should say.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to show. I've been trying to think of the best way to just show the value of the software and what you can do with it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to show a hand with, say, a short stack, and show the equity if we play it as calling. Say we're in the big blind and with 10 big blinds. and the button min raises us, and we'll look at if someone calls us, or sorry, if we call their min raise and end up shoving on the flop, is it a better play than if we were to shove pre-flop and show the equity? And just to show a couple of hands, just how you would input them and what value it shows you. And what you can kind of start on. I mean, there's quite a rabbit hole you can go down with it, right? But you've got to start with small steps. So
totally. Yeah, start with the basic, simpler stuff, and then I'm just amazed by that CREV software, and I'm glad I know somebody who's actually learning it, which is going to save me a little bit of that learning curve for myself.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool deal. Well, Dennis, thank you very much for doing this with me. Thank you for allowing me to share your database and some of these hands and your stats and everything with everybody. I know that can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but I think we covered a lot of good stuff in the session.
Yeah, no, I've twitched enough of my play that I don't think showing my database is going to hurt anything.
I gotcha.
But yeah, also, you said you're going to send me this file of the notes from it?
Yes, this one right here. I'll just save it and send it to you. I already got it called Dennis Peterson Cash Poker Tracking.
Cool.
And I'll send this to you. And then in a month from now, give or take, when you put in another 3,000 to 4,000 hands or so, we'll just do this again and we'll stream it again for everybody.
That sounds awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, have a good night. And everybody, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate your eyeballs. Thank you for those likes, for those follows and everything today. And everybody, have a good night.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, yeah.
See ya.